Late 1944. The war in Europe is racing toward its violent climax, and Patton's Third Army is driving deep through hostile territory, preparing for another decisive blow against German forces. Then George Patton uncovers something almost unimaginable. Someone inside his own headquarters has been secretly feeding his battle plans to Hitler, trading American lives for enemy advantage. When Patton learned the identity of the traitor, he did not immediately summon the military police. He did not prepare reports, and he did not lean on standard procedure. What followed became one of the most disputed moments of his career, revealing with brutal clarity why German commanders considered Patton their most dangerous opponent. This is a story of the night Patton caught a spy in the act and delivered justice in a way only he could. Late evening settles over Third Army headquarters. The corridor is growing quiet as most officers retreat for a few restless hours of sleep, while only sentries and a handful of planners remain awake. Patton is known for a habit that unsettles his staff. He walks the building at unpredictable hours, inspecting operations, studying maps, and making certain nothing escapes his attention. Some nights he barely sleeps at all, pacing the halls as he contemplates the next strike against Germany. On this particular night, something catches his eye, a thin line of light spilling from beneath the door of a secure records room where classified operational plans are stored. It is well past midnight, and no one should be inside without explicit authorization. Patton moves forward without a sound, years of discipline guiding each careful step as he approaches the door. Through the narrow window, he sees a sight that instantly chills him. A headquarters sergeant stands over a table, methodically photographing sensitive documents. In his hands is a small camera, capturing images of troop deployments, supply routes, attack schedules, everything an enemy strategist would need to predict Third Army's next move. The sergeant is completely absorbed in his task, unaware the eyes fix upon him, unaware the door has begun to open, unaware that his secret is already over. Then Patton's voice cuts through the silence. "What exactly are you doing, soldier?" The sergeant spins around, the camera slipping from his trembling grip and striking the floor with a sharp crack. His face drains of color, terror replacing concentration in an instant. For several seconds, neither man moves, the tension in the room thick enough to feel. Patton steps inside slowly, closing the door behind him with deliberate calm. "I asked you a question, Sergeant." The answers come quickly but sound fragile. Claims of working late, explanations about filing copies, assertions of authorization that neither man believes. Patton studies the scattered papers, the fallen camera, and the unmistakable panic written across the sergeant's face. Then his voice rises toward the hallway. "Guard." Within moments, 2 military policemen appear. "Place this man under arrest. Bring him to my office immediately." What makes a betrayal even more disturbing is this. The sergeant is no obvious infiltrator, no shadowy foreign operative planted behind American lines. He was born in the American Midwest, enlisted after Pearl Harbor, served reliably for years, and gradually earned a trusted role inside headquarters. By every outward measure, he appeared loyal, another citizen soldier doing his duty. Except he was not. Later investigation by the counterintelligence corps uncovered the truth. Months earlier, German handlers had reached him through intermediaries, offering payments far beyond a sergeant's pay in exchange for operational knowledge. Temptation overcame loyalty, and he agreed. He convinced himself the material was insignificant, told himself it was only extra income, and persuaded his conscience that no real harm would follow. But harm had already come. American troops were walking into prepared defenses. Artillery strikes were landing with eerie precision, and ambushes were unfolding exactly where German commanders predicted movement. Defensive positions that should have been vulnerable were suddenly reinforced. Information leaking from headquarters was costing lives. Men who trusted the uniform beside them. Men who never imagined betrayal lurked so close. On the night Patton caught him, the sergeant had been copying plans for a major offensive. Had those photographs reached German intelligence, hundreds, perhaps thousands, might have marched straight into a calculated killing zone. Patton intervened just in time, yet the damage already inflicted could never truly be measured. When Patton grasped the scale of the treachery, we understood how many soldiers may have fallen because of one man's greed. Something inside him hardened. Loyalty for Patton was sacred, the bond between soldiers nearly spiritual, and betrayal stood as the darkest violation imaginable. The MPs escorted the prisoner into Patton's office. Witnesses later recalling that Patton's face was not flushed with rage, but drained pale with controlled fury. Spread across his desk with a camera, recovered photographs and documents seized during a rapid search of the sergeant's quarters. Patton dismissed nearly everyone, leaving only 2 MPs and his chief of staff. Accounts reconstructed afterward describe a scene both quiet and terrifying. Patton did not shout. He did not pound the desk. Instead, he spoke in a restrained voice that carried far greater menace. "You understand what you've done." It was not phrased as a question. At first, the sergeant tried to deny everything, insisting there had been confusion, claiming authority that did not exist. Patton lifted one photograph calmly. "This is a classified operational plan. You were capturing it after midnight in a locked room. Do not insult my intelligence." The excuses collapsed quickly. Desperation replaced denial, and he spoke of financial need, minimized the importance of the information, and swore he never intended for anyone to die. That sentence changed everything. "You never intended?" Patton's voice rose at last. "Do you know how many of my men may be dead because of you? How many attacks were anticipated? How many positions were shattered because the enemy knew exactly where we would be?" The sergeant trembled, unable to answer. Then Patton did something that stunned those present. He removed the stars from his uniform, placed them carefully on the desk, and ordered the MPs outside. What followed has been debated for generations. "You have 2 choices," Patton reportedly said. "First, I call the guards back in. You face a court-martial, and you spend the remainder of your life in prison branded a traitor. Your family carries that disgrace forever." The sergeant asked weakly about the second option. Patton set his service pistol on the desk. "Take this, step into the bathroom, and perform the honorable act you have yet to show. We will report it as combat strain, and your family will never know the truth." Silence filled the room. Offering a traitor the possibility of suicide stood far beyond military protocol, likely unlawful, yet entirely consistent with Patton's uncompromising sense of honor. The sergeant stared at the weapon, then slowly reached toward it with shaking hand. Patton suddenly pulled the pistol back. "No," he said coldly. "You do not deserve an honorable escape. You will live with what you've done. Every soldier will know your name, and you will rot remembering it." The MPs were summoned again, and the prisoner was taken away. Patton wanted the man to fully understand the depth of his disgrace, to confront the weight of choosing between death and lifelong infamy. News of the arrest surged through 3rd Army headquarters almost instantly. Patton ordered a sweeping security overhaul. Every individual with classified access was investigated. Document controls were tightened, and after-hours entry was restricted. He gathered his officers and spoke without concealment. "I caught one of our own selling operational plans for cash, and American soldiers paid for it with their lives." Then he made a promise few doubted. "If I uncover another traitor, I will not wait on procedure. I will act and answer for it afterward." The sergeant was eventually court-martialed in a deliberately quiet trial, the military unwilling to broadcast how deeply a spy had penetrated headquarters. He was convicted of espionage, treason, and aiding the enemy, receiving a life sentence. Patton attended the reading of the verdict, rose silently when it ended, met the traitor's eyes, and walked out without a word. The episode revealed a defining element of Patton's command philosophy. War was not solely about maneuver and firepower. It depended on trust, on the invisible bond between soldiers who relied on one another to survive. Betray that bond, and Patton believed the very structure of the army trembled. German intelligence learned of the capture quickly, and alarm spread through their networks. The sergeant had been a valuable source, his reports precise and timely. Yet, what unsettled them most was not simply his loss. It was how he had been discovered, and who had confronted him. To German planners, Patton already embodied relentless aggression, a commander capable of matching their finest tacticians. Now they saw something more. A leader personally policing his headquarters, hunting betrayal with ruthless focus. Other agents connected to Third Army were withdrawn. Communication lines were severed, and operations were scaled back. Declassified reports decades later warned operatives to avoid targeting Patton's command. One memorandum noting that the general conducted irregular patrols and had elevated counterintelligence to a personal mission. By capturing one spy and responding with uncompromising severity, Patton effectively pushed enemy intelligence onto the defensive. Afterward, he intensified his inspections, appearing at unpredictable hours, checking secure rooms himself, and reviewing access logs. Officers joked nervously that Patton might materialize at 2 in the morning, yet the strategy worked. Intelligence leaks dwindled almost completely. Still, controversy followed. Senior leaders questioned his conduct, arguing that suggesting suicide and bypassing procedure crossed dangerous lines. Reports circulated. Inquiries were raised. Patton's reply was blunt. "I caught a traitor trying to get my men killed. I handled it. If there are consequences, I will face them." Results made criticism difficult. Security improved dramatically, and other commands quietly adopted similar safeguards. From a procedural view, he had stepped beyond the boundary. From an operational view, he had neutralized a grave threat. Patton lived by an austere code of honor, one that left little space for mercy toward betrayal. Mistakes could be forgiven, disagreements tolerated, but treachery remained beyond redemption. That certainty forged fierce loyalty within Third Army. Soldiers believed that if they stood faithful, Patton would fight relentlessly for them, harm that brotherhood, and his personal wrath would follow. The captured spies spent decades in military prison, dying there largely forgotten, while the stain upon his family never fully faded. Patton rarely spoke of the incident again, yet those close to him believed it stayed with him. True to his word, he personally supervised counterintelligence for the remainder of the war, continued his irregular patrols, and ensured security never slipped from priority. No comparable breach struck Third Army again. The night Patton sees Hitler's spy illuminates something timeless about leadership in war, the fragile balance between discipline and decisiveness, between procedure and protection. Patton did more than arrest a traitor. He sent an unmistakable warning. Betray this command, and you answer to me. Was it severe? Undeniably. Outside protocol? Without question. Effective? The record speaks loudly. This is one reason Hitler feared Patton above other Allied generals, not only for his battlefield brilliance, but for his willingness to act without hesitation when his soldiers were threatened. History often remembers the leaders who follow rules flawlessly, yet sometimes the most formidable are those who recognize when safeguarding their men outweighs strict adherence to procedure. Patton understood that truth, and one American soldier who betrayed his brothers learned at a devastating cost. If this story gripped you, consider subscribing and share your thoughts below. Did Patton cross an unforgivable line, or was his harsh response exactly what war demanded? Thank you for watching.